Hi, what is up, everyone? So, Gamescom is happening right now as we speak, and there's been a lot of reveals, which I'm excited for. So, the new Ninja Gaiden, there's a new Black Myth game, Resident Evil is definitely the big one on my list, along with a couple of others. But this one, we've been hearing rumors about for a little bit that there is a Tales Remaster project. We did get Tales of Graces earlier this year, and we're getting another one. And this is my favorite Tales game in the franchise, probably next to Berseria. But Tales of Xillia is a great game, and it's one I love in this series. And the fact that we're getting a remaster for it is very exciting. So this was announced. This was announced and there's a couple of details that I want to go over of what they're showing for this remaster. But the biggest thing is that it's no longer PlayStation 3 exclusive, so this thing is freed from PS3 and it's now coming to other platforms. So you're expecting this thing on the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series, X and S, Nintendo Switch, but surprisingly not Nintendo Switch 2. But is that really surprising? Maybe not. And then PC. So that's exciting to see. And they did go over some details like the developer and everything. So Bandai Namco put out some stuff, which let's go over at least a little bit of it here. So you can see here with this is that it's being done by a different developer because Graces was done by Tosei, and I think they did a great job with the Graces remaster. This one is being done by Doki Doki Grooveworks Incorporated. Now, what I found with it, at least with a recent project, that was actually Various Day Life, and I believe they're also doing Octopath Traveler Zero, which is also coming out later this year. So they have a bit of a track record. So I'm curious to see what they do with the remaster here with this. But they did get Bandai Namco did give actually a breakdown of what's going on with this. So besides my favorite thing of being having the ability to play as Jude or Mila, which are still some of my favorite characters in the franchise. With it, they did add a bunch of quality life upgrades, all and improve the experience throughout. But what exactly are those quality of life upgrades here? So the biggest things with it is that they've kind of made the graphics pop a little bit more, so it's a little bit brighter and it stands out. And it still has a signature Tails art style, which I am a fan of. They've made the Grade Shop now available, and they've made it also 50% off for items, so that's kind of interesting there. And then the big one for me is that there's an autosave function now, so you don't have to manually save for things. And then there was DLC, so DLC is going to be included for this game, but it's obviously not going to include licensed DLC as listed here. You can now toggle enemy encounters on and off. If you do regular battles, you can retry those. It doesn't say it's going to work for boss battles, so that's fine. But I'm assuming you're going to have a save point before that. This is an interesting one, but I wouldn't use this myself with subtitles available for battle scenes. I do like the ability to toggle between your dashes. And yes, they did list here if you have winged boots, then it makes your speed further. Destination icon, so you actually can navigate a little bit easier in the world compared to where if you get lost, because I know that could happen a little bit when you're playing Xillia, but not really. Then yeah, this is for sub events of the location of the minimap. So they're basically making it easier to find things or at least to locate things. Displays of each items, automatic skipping of events, new icon search with your. So you're yeah, because I remember with this I had the thing of where okay, so which one's new? It just set it for a brief second, but then I missed it. More bonus materials. You can move to the top of options from any level. Simplified selections of items such as treasure chests, added the ability to switch camera distances on the map, e-binding customizations, additional volume settings, voiceover language settings. So there's something we're going to get to with this in a minute because that's something that's been pointed out on the spec sheet that I feel like we need to discuss there. And then this is mostly for the Japanese thing, so I'm not too familiar with this, but I never played the game in Japanese. What I remember with Xillia coming out, it was only in English. So as I said, it is coming out on multiple platforms, as you can see over here. Yeah, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, PC, and Switch. But what exactly do those entail? Well, according to this here, so here's what you're getting with each different version. So basically, with Switch, The game plays dock 1080p and then portable 720p, which is standard for the Switch. Whereas you get native 4K on PS5 and Series X, whereas Series S is native 1440p. PC obviously gives you more options, so you can customize like to go to 4K and 60:9 and 60:10 ratios, which is nice to see. And then frame rate wise, 30 FPS, 30 FPS, which is what at least it ran in the overworld, and for cutscenes when you played Xillia. And then now this interesting thing here is that is this also for battles as well, because battles I know played on the PlayStation 3 at 60 FPS, whereas you get 60 FPS on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, whereas on PC you get both 30, 60, and 120, which this is kind of cool to see. So I want to see how those frame rates hold up. And then yeah, obviously local, like it's only a single player game, but if you're in battles, you can do multiplayer with it. But I haven't tried myself, so I can't speak to how well that's going to be. The size, so it's just standard size, a 16 gig cartridge size, and then 20 gigs for PlayStation 5, Series X, and PC. The thing I'm curious about, at least when it comes to Series X, like even though there's no physical copy at least coming out in North America, but if there is one, I think maybe in Europe, let's say for example, will it be the actual game on the disc? Because that's something I want to see. I will be picking it up physically on PS5 though, and I will want to test to make sure everything's on there myself, just to see, or do you need an internet connection to install this game, which I hope you don't. But yeah, there is physical copies coming out for PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch, which is pretty cool. Now here's where it's interesting here. So supported audio, you have both Japanese and English. So Japanese is new for this remaster, at least for the North American one that I have. But in terms of subtitles, you get way more on the Xbox and on PC, which is kind of interesting that you only get two options for the PS5 and the Switch. I wonder if these will be included in as like a free DLC a free DLC download or something for the PlayStation 5. But it's just cool to have those options. It's just odd that it's only here and it's not here. And then, like we said with PC, the other thing is just specs, and it doesn't look like the game's going to be too demanding for a PC either, which is nice to see. So these are all pretty reasonable. So if you have a PC, at least within like the last over like six plus years, you'll be fine running. You'll be fine running this thing on PC. So it's nice to see that it's not demanding. If these specs were higher, though, I'd be curious, like, okay, what exactly are you pushing? Where's the ray tracing and all of those features? So that's not something really much to worry about. But at least when it comes to this game, as I said, I'm curious to see how this turns out. Xillia is my favorite Trails game, like I said, next to Berseria. So I want to see what this game's going to have to offer. And we'll find out for sure on October 31st. When this game actually comes out. So I'm excited to play this game again, and October is already a busy month with stuff like Battlefield 6, Ninja Gaiden 4, Painkiller, and now this. And then there's also the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD that's out a day before this. So October's looking pretty packed, but I think I'm gonna say Xillia is a definite for sure, because it's also not going to be a full-priced game either. I think it's going for like $40 US, which is like 55 Canadian here. So that's a plus. But have you played Xillia yourself, or is this going to be your first time experiencing it? Let me know in the comments below. But also don't forget, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, whether it would be about Xillia or gaming in general. Let me know your thoughts. And I thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this. So until next time, everyone. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.